Currently, my Centauri Carbon is dead. I think the main reason why is the USB-C port on the main board itself is outright just gone now at this point. How that is, I don't know. I was finishing off my Life Size Crazy Mita, and it just stopped working on me. No amount of cables I tried, no amount of troubleshooting I've done, which I'll be showing off a little bit later on in this video that I've done, will revive the printer. Every single time it comes up with that stupid print head anomaly error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first do a test copy of a big file from my little thumb drive here to my computer using a variety of USB-C cables I have laying around that I know will work on my Centauri Carbon. And actually, I'll be using one that I actually originally used on my Centauri Carbon when it was first acting up on me. Let me actually see if I have a video of it showing of that actual issue. Sorry, I meant have a video showing me actually using this cable. Give me a sec. Alright, I had to go back a little bit. It's actually 2 months ago when my Centauri initially started acting up. And there's the cable I was using, which of course matches this cable because, again, it was this cable. So I was able to use this cable here 2 months ago to revive the printer. Now, since this cable right here really isn't designed for 240 watts, I only used it sparingly until I got myself a more proper cable that's actually meant for 250 watts. I have since upgraded to that cable, but of course now even that one doesn't want to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to copy a file again from my little thumb drive here to my computer using the original cable I used to originally revive my Centauri Carbon. Give me a quick sec. Alright, the drive shows up on the computer. Here is the file I want to copy over. It's about 40 or so gigs. This is going to be copying over at USB 2 speeds, so it will take a while to copy over. Now, one thing I want to do is I want to do this. And as you can see, it's working completely fine other than the fact that it somehow self-paused because I hit the wrong key. So let's do that again. So yeah, the cable is completely fine. It is not the cable's fault. So with that said, I'll let this fully copy over and I'll come back. I'm also going to be making a playlist that way so people want to watch this in full and figure out what's going on through timeline wise. They can do that. Give me some tips and whatnot. Or also some from Elegoo, because again, I am in contact with Elegoo and they want to see like a full proper timeline of the issues I'm having with my carbon. They can do that also. Now, yes, that means sitting for like a couple hours or so watching me fiddle with this thing, but at least whoever at over at Elegoo will actually want to do that can actually get a proper idea of what the issues I'm experiencing are and can more properly send parts or a replacement Centauri or whatever they need to do to get me back up and running again. Alright, it's done copying over. And let's make sure it fully plays properly. Alright, so it looks to be playing completely fine, as intended. So yeah, the cable I originally used for my Centauri Carbon when it was initially giving me issues still works to this day. Go figure. Let's now try out this one. This is a red USB-C cable. I actually use this on a competitor's 3D printer, and I know it works there, so it should work on the Centauri. But with that said, we first need to verify that all the cables in this little cable here are actually working properly like I did with the first one. So let me get everything set up and come back again. Alright, just like before, it shows up completely fine, so let's copy it over to the desktop yet again. And of course, it'll also be copying over at USB 2 speeds. So just like before. And not a single disconnection. So clearly the cable in this, or all the cables on this one is working completely fine. So I'll let it copy over just like last time and I will come back yet again. Oh, would you look at that? The red cable does in fact work also. And of course, just like last time, let's run in and see if it plays properly. The trackpad on the computer kind of sucks. But as you can see, other than like the occasional buffering and whatnot, it's playing completely fine. So the red cable also works. So next is the overkill cable, which is meant for my Quest 3 VR headset. Now this is the Best Buy variant, so it's not the fiber optic model. This is just a hard copper cable. So it should also work for the job at hand. Alright, shows up yet again, so let's copy to the desktop again. And now it's copying, even though this cable is meant for my VR headset, it also is copying at USB 2 speeds for some reason. It might actually be a limitation because of my laptop, but either way, it is now copying. So gotta do this all over again. Yay! And as you can see, as I'm flinging it around, just like I did with the other ones, it's still copying just fine. So I'm going to let this copy and come back. And of course, the cable meant for my Quest 3 works completely fine. So just like before, let's see if the video plays. If I can get the speaker to work. And it looks like we're good to go yet again. So, all three of my USB-C cables are in full working order. So the next step for me to do is get the Centauri reset back up and try one of my cables out and see what happens. More than likely, it won't do anything. I got my 4 Plus running, so that'll be in the background making noise. With that said, here is the Centauri. So first thing we're going to try is the original cable I showed at the very beginning. This cable did work with this printer, so theoretically, it should boot up without any issues. So here's how I have it set up. There's the main board, and of course there's the other end, and if I push it down, it ain't going anywhere. And if I do the same for this side here, it's down as far as it needs to be. So with that said, time to turn it on and see it do absolutely nothing. And as you can see, it's giving me the exact same error yet again. It's acting like there is no communication between the main board and the hot end. Even though I just showed this cable copying over a 40 gig file getting thrown throughout, and yet didn't disconnect once when it was copying, and yet I plug it into this printer and it's giving a false error of no data being sent to the print head and whatnot, basically. It's acting like there's a broken cable in this thing when clearly there is not. Let's now try the red cable. Again, same thing. Even though it's plugged in on the main board side and the hot end side, it still thinks there is no data connection, even though, just like with the other one, I showed this cable is fully working, there's no broken wires or anything, and yet it thinks there's something wrong when there's, again, nothing wrong with the cable. Now here's where things get a little interesting. The ends of my Quest cable right here, they're a little too thick for the shroud of the hot end and whatnot. But I have another hot end PCB that will be able to demonstrate what exactly is going on. So this side's going to go into the main board, and this side's going to go into the PCB of the other PCB hot end for, well, you'll see what I mean. When I was first having these issues, Elegoo sent me a new one of these boards alongside a new hot end. This is the old board from the printer And I also still have the old Hotend from the printer. It's actually right here. So obviously it wasn't this at the time of my original issues. But now there's clearly something more wrong with the printer, and I am more inclined to think that it's to do with the main board right here. So why do I think it's something to do with the main board and not the cable and whatnot? Well, when you fire up the printer for the first time, there are 3 LEDs that also are supposed to light up alongside. This is the main power LED, then we have a second one right there, and a third one right there. All 3 of these LEDs should eventually illuminate when the thing is booting up and whatnot, and especially when it's printing. So what will happen is only this LED right here will light up, and none of these will light up, meaning that there's something wrong with the main board, because the main board for some reason or another is not sending the proper commands to this PCB right here to get everything to initialize properly. Now, yes, you may be saying the reason why it's not doing anything is because there's nothing connected on these points right here. The problem with that is it doesn't matter because I'll be taking off the back cover, improving that part, proving it and whatnot. So first things first, I'm going to plug this main board into there, and we're going to see exactly what it does. Alright, the printer is turning on. So here is the main board again, or the little PCB for the Hotend. So it'll take a little bit, but for this LED, okay, that LED is now lit up. We should now be getting the other 2 LEDs to light up, but of course they won't do that. And eventually the printer will give me that little error again. There we go. Now I can actually see the LEDs are lit up. And as you can see, only one LED is getting up, so there's power going to the board, but there's no data going to the board. So these other LEDs are not lighting up. So since this cable here is a little bit too big, I'll revert back to the anchor cable I was using initially for the rest of this video. Alright, so I want to make sure now we're all on the same page now when it comes to the cable, and I want to show that the cable itself still fully works. So just like before, I'll turn on the printer. We'll wait for this light to already turn on, as you can see. And yet none of the other LEDs are lighting up. And again, this is the old board that came with the printer originally. And of course, as you can see, giving me the exact same issues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull off the back cover of the Hotend, and we'll do this exact same test again, but with the new board that Elegoo sent me. Alright, I should have enough lights turned off so where you can see the LEDs turning on and whatnot. So I just turned on the printer. Alright, first LED is now on. And theoretically, the other 2 should also light up fairly shortly, but of course, that won't happen. The first one's there, and the second one's there. And as you can see, none of them are lighting up. It's still booting up, and it's not giving me that error yet again. And of course, there's no communication from the main board to the tool end, as you can see right here. Even though I'm using the cable that I verified is in full working order, it still thinks there is no connection to the Hotend and whatnot. So to prove that it is thinking that there is no actual connection, what I'll do is I will disconnect this, and I'll pull. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Alright, now there is no cables connected to the main board and the Hotend. Even though I have a cable right here, still it's disconnected. So I'm going to flip the printer back on again, and we're going to watch it boot up, and it's going to give me the exact same error yet again. Now note, it is taking a little bit longer to boot up at the very least, so it knows that there is something wrong and it's trying to resolve it, but obviously, again, it's just going to give me the same error. And of course, printhead anomaly detected, so same error like before. Even though it took a while longer to boot, it's basically it thinks there's some type of connection issue between the printhead and the main board, when again there clearly isn't. Something wrong with the main board more than likely. Even with that said, what I am going to do next is I'm going to disconnect the actual hot end through the plugs. I'm going to ignore the little daughter board right there for the moment because I doubt that's the issue. But either way, I'm going to try and go through all the potential issues that could actually be causing this. And of course, again, document everything. So I'm going to reconnect that cable I was using, do the little disconnections like I was talking about, and come back. Alright, the hot end has been removed. So let's see what it does. This is something I did not do when I was first diagnosing this thing, but it's maybe something I should have done, but either way. I doubt it's a hot end, but if it is, then wow, that's a stupid error, but whatever. I doubt it is, though. Well, that's new. Okay, so that light's on, but none of the other lights are on. Is it this fan spinning? Yeah, that fan is spinning. Why is that one going a full blast? And of course, it's giving me the exact same issues again. And of course, none of the LEDs are lighting up and whatnot. Yep, that fan goes full speed. And no power, none of the other lights are lighting up. So at the very least, it knows when the hot end is removed, and it freaks out because of it. So there's clearly some type of data coming through this board. And of course, it's giving me the same error again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the original hot end and we're going to see what it does. Alright, now the original hot end is in place. I'll turn it back on again. We'll see what it does. Well, it's not going 100% fan speed. Let's see, do we have any other indication on life on the other lights? The answer is no, we do not. And just like before, it's giving me the exact same error yet again. So the original hot end with the replacement board they sent me, it still does not work. And of course, again, with the cable I shown originally working. So what else am I going to do? Well, I'm going to swap out the replacement board they sent me with the original board that this thing came with. I'm going to do that and come back. Alright, now it has the original board PCB and the original hot end. So let's see what it does. More than likely, absolutely nothing. Alright, so just like before, this light is on, but none of the other lights are on, as you can tell. And of course, just like before, it is giving me the exact same issue. So at this point, the only thing I could think of is something catastrophically went wrong when I was printing out the last few parts of my crazy Mita. You can actually still see that part I was printing right here on the build plate. That's where it stopped. So I was trying to print something off and then the thing just died on me. So again, something catastrophic happened with this printer, and I honestly do not know what happened, because it was working completely fine 1 second, then the next stops, give me that anomaly error and whatnot, and it's been dead ever since. Now there is one more cable I want to try, and that is the original cable that came with the printer. So let's see if this does anything. Again, I doubt it, but you never know. Let's see, what's the lights? Yep, just one, just like before. And of course, the exact same error yet again. So, I've done everything I can to try and revive this printer, but nothing I do works. The new board PCB right here did not work. The tool end they sent me does not work, nor does the original one. Both board and heatsink or hot end and whatnot. Again, something fundamentally died on this printer, and it's just gone, and nothing I can do will work. And that's why that's again why I'm asking Elegoo for a complete and total replacement of this printer. I still want to use it, but at this point I don't trust it. I just want a full out replacement, because this is actually the third time now this has happened. I managed to revive it one time, and I had a video of that, of where I revived it. But after that, it did it again, obviously, and now nothing I do works. This printer is absolutely dead, and I can't do anything with it. It's just sitting there collecting dust. And it was one of my more favorite printers to use anyways, alongside my larger format like this one right here. Because this one outperforms it in print quality and speed. But obviously I can't use it because it thinks there's some type of disconnection between the tool end when there fucking is not. And again, if it was this, swapping it out for the original one would resolve the issue. If it was this, swapping it out for the original would have fixed it. And yet it doesn't work. I tried multiple USB-C cables, showing that those cables work, and yet they don't work on the printer. Now granted, there is one more cable I've yet to try out, and it's this one right here. This is the 240 watt cable I bought when I initially revived my printer. And I know for a fact this cable still works, and I'll rerun the data copy test in a little bit. But for right now, I just want to plug it back in and we'll see what it does. More than likely nothing. Alright, with that cable installed, let's see what it does. And just like before, the first power light is on, but none of the other lights are turning on. This one right here, or the one down here, I believe turns on second, and then this one turns on third. And yet, nothing happens, as you can see. And of course, it's giving me the exact same error yet again. So let's run that file copy test and see if this cable's somehow bad. Spoiler alert, no it is not. Alright, so there is the thumb drive. Of course, here's my computer. It's plugged into the back right there. And let's copy it over to the desktop yet again. And just like all the other previous recordings, it is also transferring at USB 2 speeds, because again, this is just a USB 2 data cable and whatnot. So I'll come back again when it's nearly done copying. While this is copying over, I might as well explain what the heck this is. What this is a cooling fan modification, because the original one right here was making a bunch of racket. the ball bearing in it was going bad. So what I did is I had this blower fan just sitting collecting dust, doing absolutely nothing, and it's a 12 volt fan and whatnot. And this is a 24 volt fan. So what I need to do is I need to convert that 24 volts down to a more optimal voltage for this fan to run so it doesn't burn out. And that's what this little voltage regulator does. I regulated down the voltage enough to where the fan spins at a relatively good speed and keeps itself relatively quiet, while also getting a lot more airflow going through the board and whatnot. And this little duct right here is to help control the air to have it come out this side right here, because this was producing far more air than this little itty bitty fan was. So this is a cooling mod I did for the main board. And if the main board was overheating, it really shouldn't be overheating now, because this thing, it shoots out a lot more air than this little, let's be honest, dying fan ever did. So that's what this is here for. And again, if the motherboard was overheating, why did it overheat with this thing when this thing's, again, producing a lot more air? Again, I doubt it, but I wanted to explain this because someone's going to ask what this is. So with that said, as you can see, the cable is still working completely fine. We're almost done copying all the data over again. Alright, it's done copying over. Let's see if it plays again. And it looks like the answer is a big fat yes. So yeah, even the cable I was using to, even this cable works completely fine. So I think for the giggles, let's try the original USB-C cable that came with the printer. Give me a second. When it comes to the cable that came with the Centauri, I have no data, no nothing coming through and whatnot. So I think it's safe to say this cable is in fact dead, but I'll reverse it just to see if something will happen. Alright, I reversed it. Nothing is happening. I'll do the same thing on this side right here. Nothing's happening. Let's see, can I do it on, give me a sec. No, I can't. Actually, yes, I can. Maybe I can? Not really. Yeah, this is hard to do one-handed. Yep. The cable that came with the Centauri Carbon is, in fact, 100% dead. So, yeah, I can't use this cable anymore. So, I guess I can now, if I can get this thing unplugged, I can actually put that in the trash, which I really can't do, and I need to dig out that stupid little, there it is. Here we go. So, this cable's cooked. So, with that said, yeah. So, the original USB-C cable that came with the printer is dead. And, well, nothing else works with the printer. And just for the giggles, I will plug this cable back in to the laptop here. Make sure it's in the right... Come on. There it goes. And as you can see, it works completely fine. So, I guess that verifies the cable for the Centauri is dead. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to dig this out because more than likely Elegoo will actually want to have this cable sent their way. But, yeah. Again, there's something severely went wrong with this printer, and now it's being dead. And nothing I do works. It still thinks there's some type of connection error between the main board and the hot end, when, as I've shown throughout this video, all the USB-C cables I own, excluding the one for the Centauri here, they all work. So it's definitely not a connection issue. It's more than likely something wrong with this. And if that is in fact the problem, then it needs to be a complete and total redo of the main board and make it a little more better. And of course also completely retool the way the USB-C cable right here attaches to the hot end and whatnot. Or if anything, just a complete retooling of all this and make it more like a more closed off cable, like the one for my Neptune right here. I don't have any connection issues with my Neptune series printers because they're using this proprietary cable and it just works. I mean, yes, a proprietary cable may not be nice, and it'll be a little more harder to fix if something goes wrong, but this proprietary cable right here is probably one of the strongest cables I've ever seen when it comes to a 3D printer compared to these little squeaky dinky pile of crap USB-C cables. With that said, I think that's pretty much all I can do for this video because, well, I exhausted all that I can do with my Centauri, and now I just gotta hope for Elegoo responding, and who knows, maybe someone in the group I'm in can actually point to a solution. More than likely, the solution is a new replacement board. But again, I'd rather get a full-on replacement of this printer because I just don't trust this printer. I don't know how long a new replacement board will last before I start encountering the exact same issues again. Because I managed to get this going for like 2 more months and now it's dead. So again, I'll just end the video here and upload to YouTube. Also, I do want to apologize for the way I talk and whatnot. I am unfortunately autistic, so I slur my speeches a lot and forget words and everything else. It sucks, but it's who I am, unfortunately. But with that said, here's hoping Elegoo will come through and do this proper and actually, hopefully, just send out a whole new printer.